British sailors and merchants brought association football to Danish ports in the 1870s and 1880s, the same way they seeded it across Europe, through demonstration, not instruction. Copenhagen's educated youth watched, borrowed, and adapted. Early clubs formed and began competing in structured matches, making Denmark one of the earliest countries outside Britain to formalize the game. Boldklubben of 1893, whose very name records its founding year, emerged from this fertile period and became one of the sport's enduring institutions. The Danish Football Association (DBU) was founded in 1889, placing it among the oldest national football bodies in the world. From the start, Danish football carried a strong amateur ethos that was more than just a rule. It was a philosophy. The belief that sport existed for character rather than commerce was deeply embedded in Danish club culture, rooted in civic and associational life rather than commercial enterprise. That philosophy would prove both a strength and, much later, a liability. At the 1906 Intercalated Games in Athens, a special Olympic gathering largely forgotten by later history, Denmark reached the football final, losing to a representative British side and announcing themselves as a genuine footballing power. Then, at the 1908 London Olympics, the Danish side delivered a performance against France that still appears in record books as one of the most emphatic victories in early international football. The world noticed, but something about that early peak would cast a long shadow. Sofus Nielsen, the Danish forward who scored an extraordinary number of goals in a single Olympic match against France in 1908, a tally that remained one of the highest individual totals in Olympic football history, became a celebrated figure in the sport without ever turning professional, because Danish football simply did not work that way. The clubs were social institutions, embedded in neighborhoods and civic life, not commercial enterprises. For decades, this kept the game honest and deeply popular. It also meant Denmark was building something fragile, though nobody knew it yet. When FIFA and UEFA began reshaping world football around professionalism through the mid-20th century, Denmark held its amateur line longer than almost any comparable nation. The consequences were real. Danish football faced eligibility complications that affected the national team's standing in international competition, and the team gradually drifted from the upper tier of European football. The gap between Danish talent and the organized professional leagues of England, Germany, and Italy widened with each passing decade. Denmark finally voted to allow professional football in 1978. The change did not produce instant results. Structural transformations rarely do, but it set a clock running. Clubs began building proper academies. Scouts started taking Danish players seriously as long-term prospects rather than curiosities. Within a generation, infrastructure that had been absent for decades was being constructed from the ground up. The question was whether a generation of players would emerge before that infrastructure was fully ready. They did. At UEFA Euro 1992 in Sweden, Denmark entered as a late replacement after Yugoslavia's disqualification, having not even qualified for the tournament. What followed became one of the most retold upsets in tournament history. Denmark won the championship, defeating Germany in the final. It was not luck dressed as fate. It was the product of a professional club system now mature enough to produce players like Peter Schmeichel and Brian Laudrup, whose careers were built in top European leagues, alongside key domestic figures such as Kim Vilfort, a stalwart of Brøndby IF, who scored the winning goal in the final. The 1889 foundation and the 1978 turning point had finally converged. Danish football today, runs on a model that balances a competitive domestic league, deliberate player export to major European clubs, and a national identity still traceable to those British-influenced amateur origins on the Copenhagen pitches. The 1992 triumph is remembered as a miracle, but it was actually the delayed dividend of a very long, very patient investment. What Denmark's football story tells us is this: the nations that seem to come from nowhere almost never do. They come from decisions made quietly, a generation before anyone was watching.